chaos and violence and destabilization we're seeing in Iraq don't come as a surprise to people who originally opposed the war, precisely because they feared something like this would happen. For instance, Congresswoman Barbara Lee.
Speaker, I rise today in opposition to this resolution authorizing a unilateral first strike against Iraq. Such an action could destabilize the Middle East and set an international precedent that could come back to haunt us all.
And Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Democrat from California, joins me now. She was the only member of Congress to vote against the authorization for use of military force after 9/11. She also voted against invading Iraq in 2002. She just offered an amendment to repeal both of those pieces of legislation. Congresswoman, thank you for joining me. What is your reaction now to watching many of the architects of the Iraq war come forward to offer their advice about the latest crisis?
Well, let's hope that they remember history, and we do not want history to repeat itself. Too many of our young men and women paid the supreme price. They did exactly what we asked them to do, $1 trillion plus. And so, Chris, what I have to say is this, and I'm glad that the president is being very cautious in his response and looking at all alternatives. But when the resolution to authorize force against Iraq came forward, I offered an amendment to that resolution that said, let's hold up, let's let the United Nations complete its inspections process, because we have to remember, once again, we were told there were weapons of mass destruction. There were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and so minimally we should have allowed the inspections process to move forward, to be completed. Had we done that, I only got 72 votes for that amendment, Chris, but had we passed that amendment and allowed that to happen, I don't believe we would be where we are now. The invasion caused this sectarian violence. It caused us to be where we are now. And now this is a regional conflict that, in many ways, our invasion started.
You're proposing an amendment now to the defense appropriations bill that would bar combat troops from entering Iraq in this current crisis. Are you getting many takers on Capitol Hill for that?
Well, I believe that there are many members of Congress who want to see my amendment, which is just basically says no funds will be allowed to be used, no taxpayer dollars, to fund combat operations in Iraq. We'll see. The Republican Tea Party, of course, controls what gets to the floor, but let's hope that there's a debate. Let's hope that we can get it to the floor and talk about it. And also, I'm trying to repeal the authorization that allowed the war to take place, shock and awe, if we remember that, and also the 2001 authorization to use force. So I'm asking, Chris, the public to please sign up at stopendlesswar.com, because we need to hear an outpour of support for these amendments, because members of Congress will respond to what their constituencies say. So that's stopendlesswar.com.
Let's talk about the second of those two authorizations. I think it will come as a surprise to most people that the authorization for the use of military force, joint resolution of Congress on Iraq, authorizing military force in Iraq, is still the law of the land. It's never been repealed, even though the war has ended, even though we've declared the war over. That is still the controlling law. There is still authority vested by Congress and the president to wage war in Iraq if he so wants. Isn't that the case?
That's the case, and Congress needs to reassert its constitutional authority and repeal this, and then begin a debate again with regard to the use of force, or what Congress believes should be the appropriate response. And I have to tell you, Chris, we have the Farm Bill, we have transportation bills. They all have end dates. They never go on for 12 or 13 years. The 2001 authorization, which has been used, as the Congressional Research Service has indicated, over 30 times for drone attacks, for Guantanamo, for indeterminate sentencing, for wiretapping, for all of the issues that we are so worried about in this country, that resolution has been used as the legal basis and legal justification. And so I think it's time to go back to the drawing board on the 2001 AUMF and the 2002 Iraq resolution. As you said, the majority of the American people don't know those resolutions and those authorities are still in place. So we have to put Congress back in the mix and exercise our constitutional authority and begin to really have a real debate.
Given Republican control of the House of Representatives and their expressed skepticism towards White House power, towards President Obama, you would imagine you might find some takers across the aisle. We will see if that bears out. Congresswoman Barbara Lee, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.